Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Lexi. Please subscribe down below and hit that notification bell. But here I like to talk about luxury beauty, and today we're talking about one of my favorite brands, SUQQU. We're looking at the SUQQU Spring 2022 collection. This has been a collection that I have been eagerly waiting for many months now. Ever since photos first leaked, I picked up the majority of the collection, and actually a couple of the items I was going to order, they actually canceled my order because SUQQU was kind enough to send me a couple items as PR. So this is the box they sent me for PR. You can see it is magnetic closure, and I have already used these, so they're not in their packing boxes anymore, but I received the 05 blush, which looks so much prettier in person. I think the photos they have online make it look really yellow and not necessarily something that would look great on me, but it's a really pretty blush. And then we also have the 112 quad, which is what is currently on my eyes. We have 3 toppers and 1 matte shade. So we're going to take a look at this, but I also picked up the 2 other eyeshadow quads, 3 of the 4 lipsticks, and I got all but 1 of the blushes. I'm trying so hard to get the 01 blush. It is currently sold out everywhere, and it's permanent, so when that comes back, I will be picking that up. But one of the things that I have to say is so great about this launch is the majority of items that were released are permanent and not limited edition. SUQQU is kind of known for, having limited editions come out, each season, and they go very quickly. So it's one of those types of launches where, if you want a limited edition item, you have to be ready to go pretty much right when it launches. They do restock a few times, but there are always limited supplies of the limited edition items. And that's one of the things that sets this collection apart. We have a brand new permanent blush line that is more pigmented than the previous blushes. We have 2 of the 3 new eyeshadow quads are permanent, and 2 of the 4 lipsticks are permanent. So definitely a really great selection of new and permanent items, which I think is fantastic. Now, I ordered, the bulk of my order is from Beatrice and her team at Selfridges. You can order from the counter. We'll leave that information down below. They were out of stock of the 01 blush, which is why I was not able to get my hands on that. But I did place an order also on selfridges.com for a couple items as well. I haven't been able to catch that blush. And let's go ahead and start with some swatches. All right, so we're going to start with the eyeshadow quads. This is 07, and this is a permanent item. We have 4 shades here. This first one, it looks kind of like, it's a yellow shade, but online it looks a little bit more yellow and less gold online than it does in person. It really is more of a bright shimmery yellow with a touch of gold in it. Then we have a warm shimmery pink. You can see that this is going to be a warm tone pink. There are definitely some peachy tones in there. And then we have a cooler tone medium rose shade and a matte gray. So let me just show you that with the quad again. But you can see here that the bottom 2 shades here are going to be a matte finish, whereas these top 2 are going to be shimmery. And I have to say they all work together beautifully. I'm very happy with this quad. Another new permanent one is the 08 quad. This is the one that I was most looking forward to. I love this color story. I think it is so stunning. And I have to say that this taupe shade in here is like the perfect one and done taupe. So you can see that we have kind of like a shimmery champagne shade. It's sheer. There is some pigment there, so it's not quite a topper, but it is very light. Then we also have more of a satiny taupe shade. And then the orange and the teal are both going to be more matte shades. And this whole palette works beautifully together. I love all of the different color combinations. It's stunning. If you're not familiar with SUQQU eyeshadow quads, they do come with applicators right here. And you have a dual-ended foam tip and a dual-ended brush. And these are all made in Japan. All SUQQU products are made in Japan. They have a 1-year shelf life and they're 6.2 grams. Now for the 112, this is the one that's limited edition. And with SUQQU products, anytime you have something that's numbered in the hundreds, it's a limited edition product. Anything like in the ones and the tens is going to be permanent. And this is it. Now I have to say, this last shade here, this matte, kind of like a soft fawn brown, this is a slightly different texture than the other matte shadows. It's a little bit creamier. And I don't know if this is how they intended it, but I think for me, it works really well as a base for all of these toppers. It goes on to give you a little bit of color. You can build it up to get a lot of color, but it really kind of helps the toppers kind of stick there because it's a little bit creamier. And you can see we've got a soft golden, soft blue, and kind of like a soft rose gold shade here for the toppers. And I think they're really beautiful. You can layer those to either make them multicolored or layer them with the same color to get a little bit more opacity, but it's not something that has an actual base color to it. It's just going to be glitter particles essentially. But I think having this creamier shade here really works well in this palette because it helps these adhere to that. Whereas, yes, they'll adhere to the other shadows in these other quads, but I just feel like they go on a little bit better on this creamier shade here. You know, they go on a little more opaque originally. So these are the 3 eyeshadow quads. I have to say, I really love all 3 of these. My favorite though is the 08, and it's so nice to be able to have a favorite that is permanent. So those are the eyeshadow quads. Let's take a look at the lipsticks. Now I just want to show you how the lipsticks come. So the lipstick actually comes like this. It's a refill. So it comes with a clear cap. This is going to be the lipstick. It does have a gorgeous SUQQU logo there that you'll see in the lip swatches when it is new. These are the sheer matte formula. There is a cap that you can purchase separately. So they're actually out of the cap online right now, but they do have them in the store. So if you're ordering from the counter, you can get them there. And everything here is releasing at Cult Beauty, Harrods, and Liberty London on February 3rd. So everything should hopefully be available there, or at least most of the items. So these are the sheer matte lipstick. I'm going to show you the lip swatches while we talk about the formula a little bit, but this is going to be a very lightweight sheer matte lipstick, and it's not going to be a dry looking matte. There is a sheen to it. It never completely dries down, and it's going to remain a little emollient on the lips. You know, if you use one sheer layer, it'll dry down a bit. You know, you'll be left with a stain. But I think these are a really nice formula. They're pretty long lasting, and I find them to be comfortable on the lips. These are 4 grams. And again, like all other SUQQU products, they are made in Japan. So let's go ahead and take a look at some arm swatches. So here is the shade 11, and there is one sheer layer versus it built up. And this is kind of a rosy peachy nude shade. It's like one of those pink my lips but better kind of shades with a little extra peach in there. I think in general, a lot of the SUQQU shades kind of run a little warm in the lipsticks. So this is essentially a classic pink nude. It's just slightly warmer. I have to say, I absolutely love it. This is the shade I've been waiting for from SUQQU. So that one's permanent. And then this here is 12, which is also permanent. And you can see this one's warmer. There's a little bit of terracotta mixed in, but this is more of a orangey peachy nude. So again, another really great color. If you've got warmer undertones, this shade is going to be a great everyday shade. If you lean cooler, the 11 is a great everyday shade. And then there are 2 limited edition shades. I didn't pick up the 107 because it looked very warm, but I did pick up 106, which is kind of like a bright springtime pink. And this is it here. So, I mean, it's not overly bright or anything, but it's like the carnation pink crayon with a little bit more rose in it. So it's going to be a cool tone pink. And again, this one's limited edition. It is a little bit hard to get. It goes in and out of stock right now, but it sells out pretty quickly when it is available. So if you are interested, I do have links to everything down below, and I have a whole list on my shop list with just the SUQQU items so that you can keep checking, because sometimes it's hard to find them on the website and you need to go through a link. So these are the 3 lipsticks. We have 11, 12, and 106. And I have to say 11 is my favorite. It's definitely one that I'm going to be using a lot of. I really, really love the color. It's a really nice formula. And by the way, that is the shade that I have on my lips right now. It's 11. I've been wearing it 3 days straight right now. So let's take a look at the blushes. And the blushes are the new SUQQU Melting Powder Blush. These are 0.17 ounces or 5 grams. They come with a mirror at the top. There is a piece of plastic that comes here, and they do come with a little brush. So the brush, you know, is synthetic. It's a cute little brush. I have to say though, I don't find it to be that effective with these particular blushes. This is a much creamier formula. It's almost like a gel cream formula to powder. So let's go ahead and swatch these in order. We'll use my other arm here, but just touching this, it feels kind of cushiony like a cream, but it doesn't feel wet per se, but it definitely has a creamier texture, and you can see where I rub it, you know, kind of that emollient look to it. Now you can also see there's no shimmer. There's no like actual glitter particles or anything like that in here, but there is a sheen that you get from this. There's a satin sheen. So this is shade 02. Let's just spread this out a little bit. And this is like pretty good match with the 106. So you can see 106 is a little rosier, but they really, you know, complement each other well. Moving on, let's take a look at 03. This one is more like a soft coral shade. So you definitely have some like peachy tones in here, but there's also a little bit of like a pinkish hue to it, which makes it not really just peach, almost like a peachy coral, but it's on the softer side. You can see how nicely these shades buff out as well. This one here is number 4. This is a really nice kind of nude neutral kind of shade here. And I really like it. You know, online it's a little hard to tell what some of these shades look like. I think this one, you know, it's a little bit softer in color than 2 and 3. You can see how pigmented all these blushes are, but 4 has a little bit of a softer quality to it. It's really, really gorgeous, a great everyday shade. And then we have number 5, which again, online really looks kind of yellow. And this is going to be more of a tan with golden tones to it. You can see that you can definitely notice those yellow tones when you buff that out. It's really actually though a very beautiful shade even on my skin tone. It's one of those ones that is light enough that if you have a deeper blush shade and you are warmer tone, this is one that's really great to buff out those edges and soften it and so forth. Then we also have number 6, and this one's orange. It's not like pumpkin orange, but there is a little red in there, but you can see the vibrancy of this. It's really a beautiful, beautiful orange shade. I think it's a gorgeous color. And then we have 7. I think the color of this, I just love looking at it. You can see here that it's going to be cooler in tone. It's kind of like a deep rose shade mixed with some brown. And I just think it's a really gorgeous color. It's a very pigmented shade. So if you're fair tone like I am, then you definitely need to be cautious going in with any of these like last few shades. These are all a little bit deeper in color. This one here is 8. And again, this one is going to be a nice medium brown shade with a little cocoa in there and a little bit of redness to it as well. But you can see that this one's going to be warmer in tone for sure than 7. I think overall, all of these blushes are great. I cannot wait to get number one, which is like a lavender shade. So this is the collection that has come out, 07, 08, and 112. This is limited edition. We have 2 through 8 on the blushes. These are all permanent. And 11, 12, and 106 for the lipsticks. 106 is limited edition. 11 and 12 are permanent. So overall, I think this SUQQU collection is gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and show you some demos of the blush and the eyeshadows, and then I'm going to come back and tell you my thoughts and some things that I've learned about the blushes while I've been playing with them. All right, so first I'm going to try out the SUQQU, the cream foundation in shade 105, which is new for me, but I'm going to put the Surratt Perfectioniste Primer on my skin first. And I have very fresh skincare. It's been on for maybe 5-7 minutes, definitely less than 10. So this kind of helps it like dry down a little bit. I'm also going to apply the Viseart Eye Primer. And while all of that's setting, we'll start with the foundation. All right, so here is the foundation. And I have the cream foundation. I love the formula. It's one of my favorites. But the shade I have is just a little bit too dark. I forget which one it is. It's the 110, I believe. It's like their original shade that was the lightest. I'm going to use the Jumbo Base from Sonia G to put this on. Yeah, this is definitely a better color match for me than what I have. And yeah, I'm just gonna put this on. I'll see you in a second. All right, so that's the foundation, and I added the L'Oreal Peach Low Lighter under my eyes. I didn't add any actual concealer today. You can see some of my dark circles still, but they're not that bad. We're going to start off with the 07 quad from SUQQU. This one I almost didn't get because I'm not huge on the pinks, but what really swayed me was the gray and the yellow. Not that yellow looks great on me on its own, but I think these combinations together are going to be really stunning. So I'm going to take this Sonia G Crease 2 into the gray shade here. Just going to get some on here, knock a little bit off on my cloth, and I'm going to start here in the outer corner a little bit and bring it into the crease. So I'm going very lightly. I don't want, I'm trying to go kind of light today, so I don't want it very dark. Next, I'm taking Sonia G Worker Pro into the yellow shade, and I'm going to put this right in the inner corner. We're gonna put the pink kind of right in the middle. Ooh, I actually really like this because it's got a touch of gold in it, but it's not like one of those bright yellow golds. Just gonna tap a little bit more on here. It's really more yellow with like a little bit of like a gold sheen to it. And then for the center, I'm going into the pink sparkly shade. And I think this like more cranberry-ish shade at the bottom is going to be really stunning. I don't really have a spot that I want to put that on my eye right now, but you can see I'm going over the yellow edges a little bit, making a little bit of more of a peachy shade. And going over the gray a touch to get a little bit more depth of color. So this is it. I think I want to finish this off with a gray eyeliner. I'm going to go in with the Victoria Beckham in Sea Gray, put that on the upper lash line. I think I'm going to smudge a little bit on the lower lash line and dust that with a little bit of the gray eyeshadow as well. So I'm taking the Royal and Langnickel lip brush, actually. I'm going to get a little bit of the gray on here and just kind of go, I'm kind of going right underneath the Victoria Beckham. Wiping that off and going into the pink. And I'm going to put that right here and go over the gray a little. You can see how much more intense a stiff brush like this can make the color. And I'm just going to take the side of this into the yellow and put this on the inner corner right, so that's gonna be my eye look. I'm gonna add some mascara, brows, and so forth, and then I'll meet you back here for blush and lips. All right, so I have the Sisley So Stretch Mascara on in brown. I used the Givenchy Mr. Brow Pencil in 02, and I added a light dusting of the new SUQQU matte, I think it's called the matte powder. It's this one that's like pinkish. It is the Smooth Matte. And we're going to start with the blush in 03. You can see it's a little bit of a peachy, it's like a peachy pink, almost like a soft coral. So let's start with this, and we're going to start off with the Sonia G Classic Cheek. Wow, that's definitely pigmented. I'm actually going to wipe the brush off and then put that on. Definitely much more pigmented than the original blushes. Just going to tap a little bit of that off. Go in with another layer. Look at that. It's a pretty color. So the brush is clean, just kind of diffusing this a little bit, using swirling motions to try and like diffuse the edges a little bit more too, and just make it look a little bit more natural. You can see that the blush has a little bit of a sheen to it, not like a highlighter blush or anything, but there is like a little bit of a satin finish to it on the skin. So it does reflect a little bit of light without having any sparkle or shimmer in it. So here's the blush from a distance, and you can really see how it catches the light there. For lips, we're gonna go into one of the new permanent shades. This is number 11, and this is a sheer matte formula, which is a really nice, thin, lightweight sheer formula, similar to the Givenchy sheer velvets. And let's put this on. This is the color I've been waiting for from SUQQU. I love these lighter, kind of like a little bit of a rosy peachy nude. So for me, this can definitely be an everyday lipstick. So I buffed in a little bit of Guerlain Meteorites in the shade Light, and this is my final look. To say I'm really happy with it. All right, today we're looking at the 08 quad. I have to say, this is just so stunning. I really cannot wait to see this. And I want to try all 4 of the shades actually today. So we're going to start off with the Crease Pro from Sonia G. Going to go into this more taupe shade and putting this in the crease. This is actually going to be my major lid color as well, but I want to get this in the crease, and then we're going to soften this with the champagne shade as well. So, all right, so now I want to take this light champagne kind of beigey shade, and I'm actually putting this above the crease, kind of where I still had color, all the way up to the brow bone, but not actually in the socket portion. So I have a little shimmer and highlight there. Next, I'm going to take the same brush into this teal shade, just dabbing a little excess off on my cloth. And I'm just going to put this on the outer portion of the lid here. I wiped the brush off, and I'm going to go into the orange. And I'm going to put the orange on the inner portion here. So I'm getting some in the inner corner and working forward a bit. These 2 shades just alone are stunning together. I mean, you could just do an eye look just with the teal and the orange. I think that would be gorgeous. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to go back into the taupe shade here and plop that kind of right in between the 2 and go over the edges of both of the shades there. So I have more of like hints of color from the teal and the orange. And this is the eye look, but I wiped off the crease. I'm just gonna go into that again. And I have to say that I think this is a very wearable way to wear these more vibrant shades. Taking the Sonia G Pencil Wand, I'm going into this champagne shade here, and I'm going to dab this right on top of the orange in the inner corner so I get a little shimmer there as well. And then I'm going to use the same 3 shades on the lower lash line right underneath where they are placed. All right, so there's that. I'm going to finish up with a brown eyeliner on the upper lash line, and I will see you in a minute. And this is the final look from a distance. So I have on the blush in shade 4, and I don't need an additional highlight. I feel like it reflects enough light. I'm also wearing the SUQQU, the cream foundation in shade 110, which is, actually I think the 105 is a slightly better match for me. And then the lipstick is the SUQQU Sheer Matte in 11. We're taking the SUQQU 112. This is the limited edition quad. I'm going to start off with the matte brown with the Refer 15. And these other 3 more sparkly shades are all essentially like toppers. So I'm going to put this in the crease. And I'm actually going to get just a little bit on the brush and kind of softly dust that over the lid. So I'm not getting a ton of pigment from it, but just kind of evening out my lid color. And then we'll apply the toppers directly on there. I have to say, I haven't touched this with my fingers yet, but using the brown shade with the brush, it actually feels a little creamier than usual, a little more puttyish. You can see, I'm not sure how well you can see, there's like a little texture where I used it with the brush, and it really does have more of a creamy appearance. So we'll have to see what that's like when we go through swatches, but let's move on to the toppers. And I'm going to use my finger for these. So we got the blue one here. I'm gonna put that right here. Wow, I like this color. I mean, I love blues, so I just think this is just so nice to put anywhere in the eye, really, or with any eyeshadow look. All right, we're gonna put the rosy shade on the outer corner. You can see it has like a peachy rose hue to it. And then the gold right in the center. So I'm gonna put a little bit of gold overlapping the other 2 so they kind of blend together. All right, and then going back with the Refer 15 and just clean that up a little. This is a really nice light look. And I'm gonna add some brown eyeliner. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. And this is the final look from a distance. I didn't add lips yet, but you can see it's a really nice, light, everyday kind of look. You don't have to use all the toppers like I did. You could use just the toppers for a really light, almost a no makeup kind of look. I think it's really pretty. So I have on the 02 blush. I have a little bit of the 04 on back here, but I did remove the part further up so that I just have a little bit of the 02. And that's it, everything else. So I hope the demos were helpful. I just want to go over my thoughts on these products. Now, I do typically do comparisons, but this video, for the sake of timing, we're going to do comparisons in another video. So I would appreciate if there are any requests that you leave them down below in the comments, or you DM me on Instagram at Alexis Jong, and I will include those. So definitely let me know what you would like to see more of, and again, which particular product you'd like to see comparisons for, any requests. So as for my thoughts, starting with the lipsticks, I have used this formula for a while now. I do really enjoy it. I think it's a really beautiful formula. 11 is definitely a must-have for me. 11 and 106 are my 2 favorites. I figured they kind of would be since they both lean cooler. But 11 is definitely just going to be like something that I'm wearing like every day. It's a must-have shade for me. Moving on to the eyeshadows, I have to say I really love all three quads. I really wasn't sure about the 07 because I don't typically like pinks, but the yellow and the gray really changed this quad for me because I like mixing these two together. I like mixing these two together. I like mixing these two together. And I just think for me, it's more so a collection of duos. I probably won't use all 4 shades at one time very often, but using 2 shades at a time, I think is great. And I just love the versatility of these. I think the yellow and gray together are fantastic. I really love that combination. The 08 is my favorite of these 3 quads. This brown shade I could just wear every day. Just these two, you know, light, everyday, easy look. I love just these two together. I love all 4 of them. I think they're all just stunning. And I absolutely in love with the color story and the tones that these have. One of the great things about the SUQQU eyeshadows is they go on very smoothly and they blend nicely, they perform well, and they stay true to color. You know, the color you see in the pan is the color you get. Now, as for the 112, I have to say I really like this quad as well. You know, if you're going for something light, easy, every day, or just something very simple, if you want to highlight another feature of your face and you want to keep the eyes understated, this is a fantastic quad for doing that. I mean, I just love the whole thing. This taupey shade, well, it's not really a taupe, it's more of a soft fawn brown. I think this shade is great on its own as well. You could just use this and then pop a little shimmer in the center of the eye if you don't want to have a sparkly eye look. I just think it's a really great quad. That one is limited edition, so if you're interested in that, keep checking out Selfridges, or don't forget it's launching at Harrods, Cult Beauty, and Liberty London on February 3rd. Now, moving on to the blushes. As I mentioned, these are more of a gel cream powder hybrid. So they have a creamier texture when you touch them. They're meant to look like a cream blush on the skin, but in a powder format. So it's a little bit easier to use and, you know, easier to transport, all of that. I have to say, I think they're stunning. I love the sheen that you get. I don't have any highlighter on. Well, that's not exactly true. I do have Guerlain Meteorites buffed onto my skin right now. But in the demos, you could see the sheen from the blush just by itself. There was no powder or anything on my skin during that. And, you know, it does have a nice satin sheen like you would get from a cream blush. Now, it's not going to be quite as dewy on the skin. Obviously, it's not wet, but it has a really beautiful finish. And the great thing about it is it really does last all day. So I've worn these for 12 hours so far. And those, you know, no fading or anything by 12 hours. So I think it's just a really great formula. Now, because it is a little bit creamier, I don't think every blush brush works equally with this. And somebody else actually DM'd me on Instagram and shared that with me as well, their thoughts on it before I'd even gotten mine. And I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but thank you so much for sharing that. But essentially, because this is such a creamy product, you know, if you're using a fluffy brush like this, regardless, this one's a mix of undyed goat hair and synthetic, but regardless of the materials of it, something this loose and fluffy, because it's creamy, it really kind of adheres to where it touches on the skin. This style of brush doesn't work as well because it doesn't deposit it as evenly, again, because of kind of that moisture in the product. So you really want something that's a little bit stiffer, a little denser, that you can buff the product into. Now, that being said, this also means your brush fibers are going to work differently. Now, in the blush demos, I do have swatches of all of those, and I used the same brush shape, essentially. These are both Sonia G. We have the Cheek from the Lotus set, which is the same as the Cheek Pro in the regular line, except we've got dyed goat hair versus undyed goat hair. Undyed goat hair picks color up a little bit more strongly. It's a little bit stiffer, not quite as soft as the undyed goat. Now you can see that the undyed goat hair resulted in a stronger application or stronger pigmentation compared to the dyed goat hair. Now, if you add in Squirrel as well, which I tested but did not film, that is actually just so soft and it doesn't have as much grip. So it's kind of like using this type of brush. You don't get the pigment down and you can't drag it out as easily on your skin. Like it kind of skips a little bit, again, because of that moisture and because of the brush type, you know, the very soft, smoother cuticle of the hair. So I would definitely recommend using a goat hair brush. You can definitely go with synthetic as well. But I do think that goat hair works a little bit better at picking up the product. And if you really want to get a smooth, whether it's soft or more pigmented, if you really want kind of a smooth finish, I would recommend more of a buffing technique to really kind of spread out those color pigments. And so I personally really like to use one of the buffing style brushes after I apply the blush. So this one here is the Sonia G Face One. The new version is called the Buffer Pro. I also like the Smooth Buffer. The Smooth Buffer is actually what I reach for most because it's smaller. So I put on my blush. You can put it on directly with the Smooth Buffer, but just know that that will create a more pigmented look. So if you're looking for something more pigmented and you start with that, it goes on very strongly. However, otherwise, if you want to put in a little product with another brush and then you just want to kind of blend it out, buff it in a little bit, using something like one of these brushes works great to give you just this gorgeous finish and a very smooth, you know, natural looking application. So those are my thoughts on that. I have to say these blushes are really gorgeous. I love the fact that you can build these up to a higher pigmentation level. Some people are going to love this style and some people are going to prefer the softer, more powdery wash from the previous ones, which are a beautiful blush formula as well, but these are very different. So if SUQQU blushes didn't really work out well for you before because of like pigmentation, or perhaps you didn't like it being a little, because a lot of the shades are going to be very light. A lot of the ones that have come out recently, rather, they have plenty in the permanent line that can build up to a little bit more pigment. But these are, in my opinion, more pigmented than those. And I think these are just really stunning. And you can see that they can definitely be sheared out very well. And these three shades here, 6, 7, and 8, are definitely a bit more pigmented than the lower shades here. So if you do have fair or light skin, just be a little cautious going in with these. I'd recommend caution the first time you're using any of these just to kind of test it out, because it really, you know, a lot of product gets picked up very easily with these. This is not a situation where you've got kind of like a harder pan or anything like that. This product comes up from the pan easily, it deposits easily. You just want to make sure you smoothly buff that in. So as we're talking about these blushes, I just want to mention that the blush I'm wearing now is actually number 7, but I applied it very sheerly and then buffed it in with the Sonia G brush. So you can see, you know, how nicely you can kind of buff in even these like deeper colors to work well for lighter skin tones as well. So overall, let me know what you think about all of these products. Did you pick anything up? Are you trying to get anything? A lot of these permanent items like the 7 and 8 eyeshadow quad and the 11 and 12 lipsticks, those are currently available at Selfridges. Several of the other items have been coming in and out of stock, so definitely check them. And again, everything is launching at Harrods, Liberty London, Cult Beauty on February 3rd. I would expect Selfridges to restock at some point as well. Just to reiterate one more time, we've got 11 and 12, which are permanent. 7 and 8 are permanent, and all of the blushes are permanent. So they will all come back at some point. The 106 and the 112 quad are limited edition. So again, thank you so much to SUQQU for sending me the 112 quad and the number 5 blush. I really, really appreciate it. I think these are gorgeous products. And again, I will have all ordering information down below, whether you would like to order online versus or from the counter. I'll have the email address for Beatrice and her team down below in the description box. Any requests for comparisons for any of these products, please be sure to either leave them down below in the comments or DM me on Instagram at AlexisJong and let me know what you would like to see more of, if you want to see more eye looks or anything like that. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful and have a great day. Stay safe and healthy.